Right here.
Penny, we know that FAU likes to shoot a lot of threes. There are times this year where you guys have struggled defending the perimeter. Do you have kinks up your sleeve to counter that tomorrow night?
I don't know if it's tricks up our sleeve, but we do know we have to pay attention to those guys. They're really good at what they do. Really impressed at what Coach May does and how those guys are connected offensively and defensively. It's a beautiful thing to watch. You know, I'm sitting there 2 and 3 in the morning just watching film, just trying to figure these guys out. So you're right. You have to guard the three-point line for sure.
Over here.
Penny, Cameron Teague from The Athletic. When you look at this team that you assembled from in the offseason to now, a lot of transfers, but that was purposeful for you. Just what has that journey been like to see them come together when you look back on it?
You know, it's really amazing. You know, when Kendrick first went in the portal, I was talking to him every day. We actually tried to get guys that were in the portal. Kendrick was trying to get guys that he knew. It's like 10, 11 different guys, and all decided at the last minute to go somewhere else. Then, you know, I'm talking to Lester Quiones, and he's in the pre-draft, and he started talking about KO. Then I'm talking to another friend, and he starts, an assistant coach of ours, one of the guys gets into, Elijah gets into the portal, starts to show me film on Elijah. I was like, okay, pretty good player. Then Keontae, he signed with Vanderbilt, and then the deal, he gets the scholarship taken back, and then he goes back into the portal. We get Keontae and then last Demarie, and I'm like, man, all of this happened without me really recruiting each kid and understanding who they were. So I got all these guys, and I did not know where this was going, but I was like, with their talent, individual talent, we could come together with the guys from last year, and we could do something special, but I didn't know it would be this good. Like, it's been the chemistry, the guys being connected, and allowing DeAndre and Kendrick to be who they are has been a real blessing this year.
Bill.
Over here. Coach Bill Bender, Sporting News. How much do you use the lessons you used from the 92, 93 runs that you guys had in the tournament? And I just asked those guys how much you talk about your playing experience in this tournament. How much does that factor in? How much do you use with these guys?
You know, I spoke about it. I spoke on my experiences yesterday. I talked about my team being together and watching film on each team. We didn't need the coaches. We did it ourselves. And because they were already talking about, like, watching the film on FAU as a team without us, and I thought that was pretty special. But just the run that we made and how fun it was just to continue to advance. And we had a tough schedule. We played Pepperdine, who had Doug Christie. Then we played Arkansas with Todd Day, Lee Maryberry, and Oliver Miller. Then we played Georgia Tech with Malcolm Mackey, John Barry, Matt Geiger, and Travis Best. That was 3 really good teams. And it was all about defense and staying connected with my team. This team really reminds me of that, because very similar. We had myself and David Vaughn, and the rest of the team just kind of surrounded us, and we have DeAndre and Kendrick.
Penny, when you compare this year's team to last year was obviously talented, but young. Felt like you guys caught lightning in the bottle the last 6 weeks of the season to make that run there. Where this team, it feels like they were made for this, other than some minor blips in the road. How much more confident are you going into this weekend with this group compared to last year?
Yes, it's a lot smoother this year. You know, we had a lot of things going on last year's team. And like you said, we hit lightning in a bottle, where we just went on a major run the last 6 weeks of the season. And we thought that we could come into this tournament and make some noise. You know, had a great first half, beat a great Boise team, and then had a great first half against the number 1 overall seed in Gonzaga out in Portland, and just couldn't hold it together. But it was just the youth, you know, and also just got the chemistry going a little late and couldn't pull it out. And this year, with the way the guys are, the team is more together, more connected from day one, versus kind of catching a stride later on.
Penny, kind of off that, when you have a team that's so experienced from the beginning, does that change how you coach when you have experience from the beginning, opposed to when you have a bunch of freshmen that you're trying to coach up and bring along to your culture?
It's kind of twofold. You know, the first side of it is you can't teach older players new tricks. They are who they are. So you have to be careful with that. But the other side of it is also they have to learn our system. They have to learn how I thought. And I put a lot of, I would say, more defensive pressure on them than offensive pressure, because I felt like we could just space the floor. And Kendrick and his greatness, and DeAndre and Alex Lomax, those guys could create shots for guys. But defensively, I called on them and pushed and pushed and pushed, and they didn't like it. But it's for this reason why we're here now, because of the defensive end.
Well, and as you go through that journey, you're trying to learn who you can push. And what'd you learn about yourself as a coach that maybe you didn't know in previous years?
I learned that I have supernatural patience. I mean, seriously, you have to have a ton of patience, and you have to understand where guys are. Because if I want to push this guy really hard, but I know he's not ready for it, I got to kind of work around it. And the other guys that I can push really hard, I push because I want those guys to bring the rest of their teammates up, because it's got to be player-led. It can't come from me all the time, and that's what I look for with my guys from last year.
Right here.
You've experimented with some smaller lineups, I guess, down the stretch of the season. Do you think that's something you might employ against them tomorrow night with their three-point shooting?
There's a possibility that we might go small, with Chandler being at the 5 or DeAndre being at the 5 and having 4 guards. They almost make you play like that because they're so dynamic, and on how they play. So it definitely might happen.
Back here in the purple.
Mark Giannotto, the Commercial Appeal. Penny, how much more, even compared to last year, but even just in general, how much more comfortable do you feel just in terms of what you think the way to be a good basketball team, if that makes any sense? That how much more comfortable do you feel with your philosophy now compared to the past couple of years, given what you've done over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I'm much more comfortable this year because the guys have been buying in all year, and I can see the work kind of progress. To whereas last year it was just a lot of mayhem going on early for the first 2 or 3 months, and then we finally clicked the last 6 weeks. But this year you could just tell from Kendrick's leadership, from DeAndre wanting to get back to this position and Alex wanting to get back to this position, that everyone was buying in from the start and never questioned anything. So I feel much more comfortable with this team coming into this year's tournament.
Quick follow-up.
Did you ever waver in terms of whether it was 2019-20 when things were, out of your control in certain ways, 2020-21 where you missed the tournament, last year where things, did you ever waver in your beliefs in terms of how you think basketball should be played?
Not really. I mean, I have a lot of faith in God, honestly, and I thank him for just giving me the peace of mind to understand who I am. And I just had to get my culture set to where how I think the game. I've had some unbelievable assistant coaches that have helped me out along the way. But for me, it has to be my thinking, and that's what happened, is just kind of put more of my touch and who I am as a person on the game, and it just shifted. It shifted in a really good direction, and that's the confidence that I had coming to the college level, because it worked on every level that I coached in, and I was so confident coming to this level that it can happen, and it's back to that right now.
Michael?
Michael Cohen from Fox Sports. Penny, when you recruit players out of high school, you might know them 2, 3, 4 years, sometimes even longer if you know where they're from and where they grew up. And sometimes players you bring in from the portal, those recruitments are so accelerated, they can be a week, 2, 3 days sometimes. What is it like to welcome guys into your program when you know them for a few years versus when maybe you only know them for a week or so after they enter their name into the portal? Yeah,
obviously, life is all about relationships and how you build relationships. It's the same in sports. It kind of parallels to me. I'm going to be closer to the guys that I've known the most, like who I've recruited for 3 years. And for the guys that it's such a short amount of time to get to know them before they actually sign with you, like the guys I have 4 guys like that, you build a relationship as the season goes. You keep learning them. They keep learning you. You try to spend extra time, in film sessions to kind of let them know how you are. And I think you get their hearts when they know that you care. So I try to let them know that I care right away.
Right here.
Given how perfectly last weekend went, do you feel like you guys are going into this weekend playing your best ball of the year? And if so, do you think you have yet another gear that you guys can grab?
I would hope that would be the case, but I look at every preseason, regular season, conference tournament as 3 different quarters, and then now it's the NCAA tournament. You want that momentum from the tournament, but every level is different to me. You have to go another level every step of the way. And I like what I see. I like what I see in practice on how the guys are locked in on what we're doing. So, yeah, there is another level that you can always go to, because individually guys can still get better skill-wise. They can get better with game planning. And, you're happy as a coach when you see your guys just being connected because they're willing to do whatever it takes to get a win.
Mike Sadie, WREG. Penny, you have a lot of guys that are here for the first time. While you have some veterans coming back, you've been in the NCAA tournament. How important is this next 40 minutes when you're taking them into an arena they don't know, it's an NHL arena, but just to kind of lock in, whether it's the rims or the sight lines, but just kind of getting them locked in for what it's going to be at 8 o'clock tomorrow night or 9 o'clock here?
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to get them to that level to be ready for the 8 o'clock as far as mental, but I'll try to downplay it as much as possible. Just this is our shoot around. Let's get in here. Let's get our shots up. Let's go through our routine, because I think routine and preparation takes the nerves away. Most of the nerves away, not all of them, because if you're a college player, you've been waiting for this, and this is your first time, you've been waiting for this, your whole entire basketball career, you're going to have some nerves. So I think the preparation, I think routine definitely helps with that. So that's what we're going to try to get into today. Not saying, hey, we need to get you ready for the game right now. That will be tomorrow.
Over here.
Jeff Calkins from the Daily Memphian. I've been in the locker room. You may have answered this already. Kendrick said he wants to be remembered as one of the Memphis greats. How important is it to his legacy what happens next? If you look at the history of D. Rose and Memphis greats have done it in the tournament. How important is it what comes next?
I'm kind of in between on that, because what he's done in the regular season and in the AAC tournament has been nothing short of greatness. And you do get judged harder because of the postseason, like where we are now. And I would hope that he could take us to the level that Derrick Rose took the 2008 team, or that Keith Lee took the 85 team, or even when I took our 93 team. That's an extra level, but I don't know if that would be his the judgment on him because of how great he's played. But that would definitely put the icing on the cake if we make a run, in the NCAA tournament.
You're talking about KD and DeAndre as leaders. What's the key for them to get others involved and you guys find balance as a team?
I think the key to them to get guys involved is to understand how the other team is playing them, and just be unselfish. Pick their spots. Don't try to go in and win the game in the first couple minutes because you're in the NCAA tournament. You still have to trust your teammates and get those guys involved, because the teams are going to load up on DeAndre. They're going to load up on Kendrick. So they'll see right in front of them what they really need to do, and they just have to stick to that and trust.
We have time for one more question. Right here.
Have you coached a player that you feel more confident going into a big game with than Kendrick, given his resume this season?
I have not. I have not had a guy with that much history in the game. Leading scorer of our conference, leading in assists, leading in free throw percentage. Has had a lot of big games under his belt. Has not made an NCAA tournament, but to just be able to take over a game at any moment and close a game, I have not coached that. Everyone I've had that could have done that has been so young as a freshman that they've been one and done and gone. But to have a fifth-year guy with that experience is great to have.
Coach, thank you. Appreciate your time and good luck.
Thank you.